For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
And welcome to the Rotary Club for the city of San Dimas on May 3rd, 2023. We are indeed people of action. We got all kinds of action to talk about today, and I am so happy and pleased to see everyone here. And as I said, we're still trying to figure out what the heck's going on with this computer, but I will figure it out. It's brand new to me. So let's go right into it before we do introductions. Hey, there's some things going on. Number one, kick-out party and installation. This is foremost in my mind. I guess you would want to know why. And that's on the 21st. Some of you have registered. At the very least, I need you to send me an email so I can get a head count that you're going to be there. And if your spouse or significant other is going to be there also, so I can make the proper arrangements. We have 3 major events coming up in basically the first half of Steve's year. The fashion show on October 19th. We have another committee meeting for that on May 11th. That is a fashion show to support the House of Ruth, a domestic violence shelter. The second food drive of the year for the Pelican Pantry on 29 Palms Marine Corps Place will be on September 30th. And that next committee meeting, or first committee meeting for that event, is on May 24th. And the annual, it will be our 3rd annual Marine Corps Benefit Dinner, takes place on November 10th. And the first committee meeting for the planning of that is on May 25th. So we got lots going on. In fact, we get down to the Action 360 section. There's even more. But first, let's introduce everybody. My name is Raymond Foster. I am the president of the club for roughly 7 more weeks. Yay! Let's start with, hey, Steve, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Scott. I guess that means I will be the president in about 7 weeks. Not quite as loud a yay there. I've been a Rotarian for almost 14 years now. I am the current secretary and past president, past treasurer, and I am a State Farm agent in San Dimas.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mary Ann.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mary Ann Kistler, and I am the current foundation chair, and I have been in Rotary for over 20 years.
You're going to make us look that up again, aren't you, Mary?
Yes, I can never remember.
Somebody signed on the MAAG TV right now and is going to look and find out how. I think you came into Rotary in I think 89. So that's quite a ways back, Mary Ann. You've been a Rotarian a long time.
Yes.
Thank you. And you are a past president.
Yes, I am. Very
Excellent. True. And how about Mr. Porter?
Hello. So I think I haven't even hit a year yet, so I'm very new to the Rotarian life here. But day-to-day job, I do work for the Department of the Navy, which I also am the president of the Laverne St. James Education Foundation, and a few other things as well. But glad to be here.
Excellent. I'm glad to have you here also. And that leaves Casey.
Man, best for last, or that just leaves me behind. I'm not sure which way we're going. My name's Casey, past president, active in the Rotary. Glad to be here. Currently present. I've also got a friend in the office today, Mr. Charles McCants, stopped by and said, hey, I'm hanging out in your space. I said, well, come to the Rotary with me. So he's listening in. So we check up another number. Glad to be here today. Looking forward to where we're going.
Excellent. Excellent. So we will, I'm sure, have other people come in during the next 10 minutes, but we're not going to wait for them because we've got a great guest with us today. Lew Shuman is a native of Boston, Massachusetts, and a graduate of Boston English High School and the University of Massachusetts. Lew, now retired, was most recently the director of broadcasting for the NBA's New Orleans Pelicans. His 50-year broadcast career was spent primarily in sports production. Shuman was the recipient of 4 Regional Sports Emmys for NBA basketball and football production. Shuman has had stints under his belt working with the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Charlotte New Orleans Hornets Pelicans, and he started his broadcast career as a technician and a producer-director for WLVI-TV Channel 56 in Boston. Shuman is also a U.S. Army veteran who served with the ARMISH MAAG as a military advisor in support of the army of the Shah of Iran. His career in broadcasting has extended over 6 decades and over 2,000 professional basketball games as a producer, director, and administrator. In addition, Mr. Shuman is the author of 3 books, Hoop Junkie, 15 Days of Hell, and Hoop de Jour. Lew is also a volunteer at the docent for the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, which is how we first met him. And currently, Lew is retired with his, well, he's not retired. That's a lie, Lew. With his wife, Sherry, and they reside in Sidell, Louisiana. Welcome to the Rotary Club of San Dimas, Lew.
Love to be there. Thank you. I want to tell you, that was written just like I did it. Well, anyways, I want to say thank you for inviting me. And it's going to be a pleasure. I'm going to take a little bit of your time and cut you loose, but I've got a little PowerPoint here to help me along. And I'm going to jump to that real quick here. And hang on, let's push this button and push this button. And as it was said, I'm an author of 3 books. You can see the PowerPoint, I assume.
Yes, it looks good.
Okay. 3 books, 15 Days of Hell, Hoop de Jour, and Hoop Junkie. We're going to be talking about Hoop Junkie. That's basically my career of my 50 years in the NBA with the people who I've met and who I've seen. We had mentioned that I went and grew up in Boston. Well, I went to a high school, if I can get this little puppy to change, the oldest public high school in the United States. Boston English Public High School, that is. We've had some graduates like the kind of Commandant of the Marine Corps, Kelly. General Matthew Ridgway was a graduate. So wasn't Louis Farrakhan. And the one that I'm proud of is Captain Ronald Spears. I'm sure you're all familiar who Captain Ronald Spears was. He was made famous, part of Easy Company in Band of Brothers. Moving on, as mentioned, I was in the Army, spent almost 2 years in Iran in support of our field teams. And it was an experience. And that's where the book starts, basically, with my career getting off at the beginning when I was a young buck and moving on through. You're going to hear from me. I worked at WKBG, WLVI in Boston. I was with the Celtics. I was with the 76ers. I was with the Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans, Oklahoma City, back to New Orleans because of Katrina. And that leaves me presently where I am, retired. That's me courtside for a playoff game, and it's probably one of the last games I was working. But I was talking about different anecdotes I was going to present for you fellas and lady. My proudest season writing was the 85-86 season. That was the season that the Celtics went 67 wins, 40-1 at home, and they turned out to be the world champions of that season. And that is my proudest moment. But again, back to the book. The book deals with anecdotes. I did nothing salacious. Everything I wrote about happened. It was in a funny or a context that you could read to anybody. It wasn't a bad book, if they say in the trade. It wasn't like my last one where I dealt with murder and sex. But anyways, I picked out some stories I was going to talk to you about. I don't know if anybody remembers, there was a gentleman named Johnny Most. He was our radio announcer. And they picked a heck of a time to cut my grass. Pardon me, they're outside going by. Johnny Most was a character. He had an old grizzly, gravelly voice. And well, the story I'm going to relate, we were playing Cleveland one day at the Boston Garden, and Johnny had a bad habit. He liked to smoke. And, you know, it was getting out of style to smoke. Arenas hadn't banned it yet. But in the middle of the broadcast, he was holding the cigarette down under the table, and simply his pants caught on fire. They're doing a live broadcast, and this poor guy has patting his crotch to put out a fire. And that was Johnny. Johnny had numerous stories all over the country. He's a legend. We miss him, but he has gone to another place. Charles Barkley. He's an individual I'm sure you're all familiar with. Charles is fun. He's, best way to describe him is fun-loving. Well, I was with Charles and we were playing around the golf one day. And if you remember the movie Caddyshack, well, guess what? Charles was Caddyshack. We're in the pro shop and he's grabbing everybody. You need a hat. You want some balls. Let's go out and hit some, et cetera, et cetera. When we got on the court, on the field, on the whatever.
Of course.
Charles was lining up. He has the weirdest swing you've ever seen. And while we were on the course, he was hitting divots the size of small children. But another part of Charles was he was a baiter. He liked to bait his teammates. And he played with a gentleman named Armin Gilliam. Every player has a different way of getting loose, getting their mind in touch with the game. Armin's was reading. He liked to sit at his locker, read a book, and prepare for the game mentally. Charles, who liked to bait people, walks in the locker room and says, Armin, what are you doing? What's that in your hand? And Armin, dryly as can be, said, Charles, it's something you've never touched, a book. Oh, good. I'm getting some laughs. Pete Rose. Everybody's heard about Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a shoe store in Atlanta. It's called Friedman's. Friedman's is where all the athletes go. In fact, if you were to go there and go up on the second and third floor, you'd see Shaquille's 22-inch snakeskin shoes. They're on display. But the athletes go upstairs. Downstairs is for the public. We were in Atlanta once for a game, and I'm up there, and I'm looking for a pair of shoes that I could afford, which they had. And the owner, Neil, says to me, Lou, say hello to Pete. And I turn next to me, and I go, oh, hi, how are you? Then I realized it was Pete Rose. Pete Rose was over there to buy shoes and get away from the team. But he had an ulterior motive, I believe. In the middle of sitting there, he turns to me and says, is Bird gonna play tonight? I'm being naive. I go, well, I really don't know if he is. Well, you think you could find out if Bird's gonna play tonight? Little did I know that he was fishing for what he was doing as his outside activities. This is about Father Dick. I'm gonna tell a story about Bob Cousy. You're all familiar with Bob Cousy. He graduated from Holy Cross. He was with the championship team that won the NC2A back in the 50s. Well, every city we go to, Bob Cousy would always leave 2 tickets for 2 priests. Whenever we were on a Sunday, he'd always go to mass. So this particular day, we were in Washington at the Capitol Center, and Coos says, Louis, I've invited a couple of my friends, the good fathers, to join us after the game to go for dinner. I said, that'd be a great idea. So we get down to courtside, the game is over, and Coos introduced these 2 gentlemen and says, Dick, this is my friend Lou, I work with him. And there was this gentleman there, khaki pants, plaid shirt, he had his collar on and a baseball hat. Very nice man and a whole bit. So long story short, we go out for dinner and we're trying to settle the problems of the world. We're talking and the whole bit. And finally I said to the priest, so tell me, Father, where's your parish? And he looks at me, he says, Virginia, I'm the Archbishop. Okay, it was a pleasure, but it was a wonderful story that I remember. Anybody remember Charles Shackelford? He went to NC State. This is probably one of the greatest sports quotes ever. Charles was being interviewed and he was asked about his game. And Charles was telling people, well, I can do this, I can do that. I have such a game. I can go left, I can go right. I'm amphibious. And that stuck for his entire career. They called him Amphibious Man. Another thing the players like to do, I hate to say it, they like to gamble. They like to play all types of games. Well, the Celtics, and this is before we traveled on charters, let me tell you, everything was commercial. You'd play a game at night on a Friday, and at 6 a.m. you're at the airport because you had a game Saturday night. Well, the players like to gamble. Some of the guys played Tonk, some brought board games on. One particular night, we're on a flight back, and they're in back playing Scrabble. They have one of those travel boards that's magnetic. And I think Kevin McHale was involved, Bill Walton, and this fella, Ray Williams. And the plane as quiet as can be, and they're playing in the back, and all of a sudden you hear McHale yell out, Ray, come on. Cap'n Crunch is not a word. And always I got to include a coach. Now here's something, you all know who Rick Carlisle is. He's the present coach of the Indiana Pacers. He was coach of the Dallas Mavs. He was nicknamed Flipper, and Larry Bird gave him the nickname Flipper because he used to take the pillows that they gave you on the airplane, and his feet were cold, he would put them on. And that's where he looked like a fish.
Yeah.
Not a fish, a frogman with flippers. But the thing that's interesting about Rick Carlisle, you could go into a hotel lobby, if there was a piano there, he'd sit down, he'd start playing beautifully. He never took a lesson in his life. He did it all from hearing. So those are the little anecdotes I have. I see I'm about halfway in. So I'm going to let you guys jump in with some questions if you have them. This is me at the end of the playoffs, at the end of the career. And if you all have any questions, I know you have a busy schedule. I will let you all ask me a question if you got them.
Well, let's do that. Let's throw the out there for questions. And anyone have any questions to begin with?
I do.
Go ahead.
Lou, as a lifelong Laker fan and knowing that Red Auerbach was a dirty, low-down cheater, I'm wondering, are the stories about the Boston Garden and what they would do to the locker room and the showers, and only one shower would work and it would only have cold water, is that folklore
False.
or is that true?
It's all legend. It's not true. Now, I will say the Boston Garden did not have air conditioning. So if you're playing in May and June for the finals, that building was downright hot. Wait, what's that?
Okay.
Okay, I'm good. No, the building was hot. The showers worked. The locker rooms were tiny. I will admit that. The headroom was horrible, but I think it was more legend than it was Pat Riley doing his thing.
So Lou, how did you get involved in this line of work?
I was in high school, and it's funny, a guidance counselor says to me, I said, I want to go to college. He says, no, you want to go in the Army. I said, okay, I'll do that. But before I went in the Army, I started working as an entry-level person at a Boston television station. And while I was there, my draft number came up, and I did not want to be drafted. So I enlisted, and I joined the Signal Corps. And I was on orders for Germany. And on my way to Germany, they flagged my orders, and they said, you're going to Iran. I had no idea where that was. But while I was over there, part of my job was to work for the Armed Forces radio television station that was there. And well, being eager as I was, I asked the officer in charge, Major Schmidt, I said, can I do some radio? Can I do something to get on the air? He says, yeah, you can do a weekly radio show, 7 to 10 o'clock in the evening. I said, okay, I'd be happy to do it. And trust me, it was fumbling. It was horrible, but I started to learn how to do things. And I was the #1 radio station in Tehran. I was the only radio station, English-speaking station in Tehran. So once I was there, when I came back to Boston, as you know, if you go in the service, they hold your job for you. And when I came back, I rejoined the station I was working for. And they were in the process of getting a contract with the Celtics. And I was the only one interested in sports in the production department. So they said, you want to try producing and directing? I said, I got nothing to lose. So that's basically how I started. I started doing it with the Celtics. Then they lost the contract. I was laid off. And then I went to Philadelphia, got to travel with the Sixers for 2 years. And then the job opened in Charlotte. And we moved on to Charlotte and spent 9 years there before the team moved to New Orleans, eventually sold to the Benson family, which owned the Saints. And as they say, the rest is history. I retired in 2016, and I did it on my terms, which was good. And that's how it came about.
Interesting.
What does a producer do?
The best way to describe it is you finance it. I basically tell the talent, with the talent, what the story is for the night. The director interprets the story, but the producer says, tonight we're going to concentrate on Magic and Kareem. On Boston, we're going to look at the matchup between Kareem and Robert Parrish and find the sub-stories. In the meanwhile, I have people in my headset, my graphics people are saying, Walton's having a hell of a game with rebounds. You might want to ISO on him. So I'll tell the people that are recording the game for highlights, I'd say, tape machine X, I want you to ISO camera number 3. 3, stay head to toe with Walton. and we cover about 4 or 5 plays up the court and hoping that he would give us what we were looking for. Because the producer is the one who makes that decision. The director is more like the conductor. He's calling which cameras where and what. And that's the difference.
So did you travel with them, with the team in every location?
Yes, sir. Yes, I did.
And was basketball the only sport that you produced?
No, I've done some football. I've done a little bit of ice hockey, bowling. We used to do bowling for dollars. If y'all remember that, I'm sure your local television station had the contract for that. Did your yearly Jerry Lewis telethon, did news, did commercials, did a little bit of everything.
Very cool. Other questions from the gallery here?
Lou, I don't know. I'm going to assume for a moment, since you were in basketball for a long time, that you're still a fan. Is that fair to say? Do you still watch?
Yes, it is. I still watch on occasion. Right now, I'm keeping an eye on the team up in the Northeast.
Right, right. What do you think about how much the game has changed with players like Steph Curry and, got the game becoming a little less physical, guys being more athletic, the floor being spread? What's your thoughts on that?
I do need to give you one little bit of background. I was with the Charlotte Hornets when somebody's father named Del
was there,
was playing. Every day after school, these 2 little boys would come to the gym and practice basketball. Today, you see the shot that he developed when he was 7 and 8 years old.
Right.
What do I think? First of all, the NBA's ratings are down, but I was told about 15% this year, which is not good. There's broadcast rumblings with this Bally Sports and Sinclair. They're something like $7 billion in debt, and they're not paying teams their rights fees. So there's a rumbling taking place now. As far as the players and what they get, I don't behold the player for getting any amount of money. It's the owners that give them the money. They should live with the problem.
Absolutely agree.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, Lou, that was a really interesting and entertaining presentation. I bet we could keep talking to you for I'm certain another hour of questions, because I've got one final question. When were you were the Shah's Army, so this is like pre-79. When were you down there in the?
I was there from 1960. Let's see, when did I arrive in country? January of 69 through August of 70. I was there a little over, I'll figure it out. I think it was 14, 15 months. And I was there, the pot was just starting to boil. We still had dependents with us. We still had their kids going to school. It was considered a prime duty station. And you got to remember, all the people in my MAAG unit, they were all senior officers, as were the NCOs. They were all senior NCOs. They had no use for E4s and E5s and below, simply because I could not go up to an Iranian colonel and tell him, you're doing something wrong. It was left to the senior officers and the senior NCOs and their peers to do that. I was in the background providing support for the field teams. We had field teams in every major city in Iran, and every air base had American presence. And it was a good time to be in Iran. Let's put it that way. In fact, after I left, I think it was about 3 months after I left, the general had just come on board when I was leaving. His car was bombed, and the Air Force brigadier that was there, he got seriously injured, and they had to get him to Rhineman and the Air Force Hospital.
Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for coming to the Rotary Club of San Dimas.
And in honor, I wore my Rotary shirt for you folks.
Yes, he got that Rotary shirt speaking at another Rotary Club. I think that's very cool.
So I'll be looking for something in the mail. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. Have a good day. I'm going to stick around and listen to the rest of your proceedings.
Well, Lou. And we encourage you to keep watching the mail for what's coming for. Hey, so let's go to, first off, let's welcome a little bit late arrivals, but it's good to see their faces. Craig, say hello there.
Everyone, I'm Craig.
Hi, Craig.
How are you guys doing? Am I supposed to do introduction?
Yeah, just tell us who you are, and that's your introduction.
Oh, past president. That's about it.
At Via Verde Dental. Thank you. Hey, Sean, welcome there. How you doing?
Great. Sean Casey, Dean of Students over at Chaparral Vista High Schools. And I am a second-year member in the Rotary. Hello.
Excellent. We're glad to have you. And Sean and I were at Assembly a couple of weeks ago. And so Sean is all trained up on grants.
Good.
Okay, let's go to the Fine Master. No.
There we go. I got to find myself. Couldn't find the mute button. It got lost. Hey, we're in the fine zone, recognizing that sometimes life is fine. Sometimes life is not fine. Either way, if you want to talk, you're going to find yourself so we don't get stuck on your soapbox. So who wants to talk? Who wants to share what's fine, what's not fine, or actually talk about somebody else? Tell us they are fine.
Yeah, I'll start. I'll find myself. Well, first, let me say, and I did this a couple months ago, but Marianne, January 1st of 2023 was 30 years that you've been a Rotarian.
January 23. Oh, wow.
Yep. So it's been 30 plus now.
Yep. Thank you.
I will find myself $25 because my wife has completed radiation. She's doing pretty well. Still got some hurdles to get through, but this far into the process, things could not be going much better.
Good. We're glad for you.
Glad to hear that, Steve.
Thank you.
On the heels of that fine, I'm going to fine. I don't typically fine people. It's up to you to fine yourself, but I'm going to fine Marianne for giggling and laughing at Lew and just entertaining Lew as if Marianne was giggling and laughing. I'm fining Marianne because she doesn't giggle and laugh at any other presentation for the last 6 weeks. So Marianne, you got a reverse fine for only laughing and giggling at Lew today.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, a reverse fine, are you going to give her $5? Is that what's happening?
Dude, I just fined myself.
No, he's going to pay my fine.
You're going to pay your fine. I'm just acknowledging it's good to hear you on the call today, Marianne.
Thank you.
So I'm going to find myself $10 for, I'm going to hope that this is the stupid move of the year or the stupid move of the decade, maybe. But if you weren't here before we started, for the last 8.5, 9 years, I've had a cloud-based backup service and hadn't used it. And so 4 months ago, I just discontinued it. And Sunday got the black screen of death. I have no data. Client, taxes, accounting, photographs. It's all, well, hopefully recovered someday through a hard drive. But at any rate, as Steve said, that's the way it goes with some people's insurance, isn't it, Steve? At any rate, that's why $10 for being really stupid. That was a showstopper, apparently. Anybody else?
I was just trying to run through a list of the dumbest things you've done over the last 10 years to see if that actually was at the top.
Ooh. Yeah.
Another showstopper.
Let's make it. You know what? I encourage you to make a list because I have done a lot of stupid stuff in my life and I'm amazed I'm still here.
Haven't we all, sir?
Who else? Come on, let's get one more fine here. One more fine.
I'm gonna find Craig or Anthony for not having facial hair because I can't see Steve, but there's a bunch of mustaches looking back at me today. It's something going on in mustache world today. So hey, we're done with our fines. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for finding yourself. Let's keep moving, Raymond.
Okay, so let's go to Action 360. First thing that I want to talk about is the board meeting, which is next week. I will be sending in an email with a link to the financials as well as the agenda. Quite frankly, the financials are looking good. Some of the dues are just about completely up to date, so it's looking really good. But that'll be next week. Also coming on the heels of that is Teacher of the Year. I know that Casey is going to go. Who else is going to go? Anthony, but I don't. You were there with the Educational Foundation, aren't you, Anthony?
Yes, I had bought my ticket before I saw your email, so I already have a seat for the foundation.
Okay, and so Casey You'll be there. I know Mike Wallace is going, Isabella is going. I invited Pat and Wayne Schmidt. Sean Casey, you'll be there, but you'll be there in a school district ticket.
Correct.
All right. Well, if anybody would like to bring a spouse, we have 2 ticks available. So let me know, and I'll make sure you get a seat because it is assigned seating this year. And I will tell you, already 100 seats have been sold. It's so funny. The San Dimas thing has sold 100 seats, and it's just going to be a fabulous thing. We've done a couple of run-throughs, looking good. Teacher of the year, any questions? Cool. Board meeting, Canva, CANVA. Canva is a design tool with nonprofits in mind. You can create all kinds of graphics and media on it. I applied for a grant with them through the foundation and got us 50 free licenses. So you should have seen an email where I invited you to use Canva. If you did not get that email and you would like to be a user of that software, shoot me an email so that I can make sure I re-invite you. We've talked also about the kickout party. I need you to either register or send me an email so I can register you. I need and how many, if it's going to be you and a spouse, you and a significant other, so I know how many people will be there and I can make arrangements for the 21st. So kickout party. Foundation.
It is June 21st, right?
It is June 21st, correct. The foundation, we will have to have elections right after the kickout party because we changed the officers at the same time. We changed the Rotary officers. 2026 committee has met and will be meeting again on July 18th. City birthday committee and the Halloween events committee. As the Rotary representative, I've been going to both those committee meetings. There's nothing really to report to you right now, but we are involved with the city on the planning phases of those. As I get more information, I'll come back with it. Satellite Rotary Club has its food drive coming up. It's a second food drive on September 30th. That next committee meeting is on May 24th. The USMC dinner committee is meeting on May 25th. And then on July 5th, the Satellite Rotary Club has a lieutenant colonel coming from the Marine Corps as the speaker. He's going to actually come to High Point Brewery because he's retired after about 30 years of service. And if you're not familiar with the military, you'll see a lot of retired captains because kind of captains is a break-even point for the up or out. Then you'll get guys that get the major, and that's the next place. And lieutenant colonel is where they've decided you're not going to be a general officer, so goodbye. But that's pretty high up there in the military. And he sounds like a really good guy, and he's tied into the defense industry in Costa Mesa. The reason I'm telling you about July 5th is this is his audition, and he doesn't know it, to be the keynote speaker at the Marine Corps dinner. So if you'd like to come out, I could really use your opinions as how he is as a speaker. Will he be dynamic? Can we get, the same draw we had last year, et cetera, et cetera. And he's going to be speaking about the Marine Raider Foundation. And the Marine Raiders have a very interesting history beginning in World War II. And so I think that that'll be a really great presentation anyway. So that's what I have on Action 360. Is there anything that I have missed?
I have a question, Raymond. For the new member, Margarita, I don't know if I missed it. Was there a time we were swearing her in?
No, we're going to do that June 21st for Rita and for Marilyn at the kickout party because it's kickout party and installation. So what I'd like to do, and I was going to talk this over with Steve, is really in the first, I want to say something would kick me out in the first 10 minutes, turn it over to Steve, and then install the new people and let Steve take care of that. Unless he wants me to do it, I don't care, but I think it'd be great if he did it.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I just want to the first 5 or 10 minutes, and then we turn it over to Steve. It's really his Rotary Club for the next year. The only thing we'll talk about the board meeting. I'm going to become the secretary, but actually one of the things I learned at District Assembly is we should change that to executive secretary because, and Sean was with me when we learned this, the executive secretary has more functionality on the Rotary.org website as far as making changes and inquiries than a secretary does. As far as security goes, the executive secretary is on the level with the president. And so because we want to do different things with the foundation, we'll talk about that at the board. But other than that, that's what I'll be next year, is either the secretary or the executive secretary.
You'll be the executive secretary, even if we don't vote you to be executive secretary, just so you know.
We just did.
Yeah, we just did.
Did.
Hey, quick question for you, probably for Steve just as much as the group, but as your presidency, Elba Design Center is excited to partner with our fashion show, but we're also at Elba asking about a raffle drawing at the Christmas event. I told them at this point the Rotary is not planning to do that again. So Steve, if you are, then let me know for your year. Elba wants to do something at the event, so we're going to figure out a way to go ahead and do that. We'll probably partner with the chamber. So I'm going to have a conversation with with Sylvia. So, but Steve, if you know the Rotary wants to be a part of that, then make sure you and I connect on that. So that's just an FYI if anybody has thoughts or feelings on it.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah, the fashion show is going to be in October, but it's going to be in a combination with the chamber mixer. And so it'll be really a mixer with fashions and a silent auction, and we're working it up both, and it'll be 5 pieces of clothing and 5 pieces of jewelry, hopefully. And it's going to be a really interesting event. We're doing smaller than we wanted to see if we can do it. And then we can grow it next year, year after next. I think we started out too big and we got kind of bogged down in the details. But October is also Domestic Violence Month, so we'll be tying in with that theme, hopefully. So, and Steve and I have been talking about fundraisers. If anybody has an idea, I know that we are been thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to raise money for the foundation, as you well know, when we're talking about a specific project. But for general club, for like teacher mini grants and the like Ryla and that stuff, that's so nebulous. It's difficult to fundraise. But we raised $15,000 for the food drive by telling people it's food for military families, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll do that." So anyway,
I did have a question. I don't know if it's mainly for Mike, but the car show on the 13th, and about getting the club at San Dimas High School to help us out with that and the raffle that we were doing. Should I bring that up tonight at the satellite meeting when Mike's there, or is that something still on our radar?
What day? It's the 13th, right?
Right.
We did not. I know that we had agreed on the 80-20 split and to do the paperwork, but I don't remember getting involved in being volunteers there. Mike didn't mention that to us.
Yeah, I briefly talked to him. He wanted to potentially get the club that's on campus to maybe work in a little bit, but if he hasn't talked, then I will maybe shoot him a text and discuss that.
Let's talk to Mike tonight. He'll be you're talking about the Interact Club. I had a conversation. I had coffee with Brandon Moon on Sunday with he and his wife. I pitched him becoming youth services and taking over Interact with some specific direction on, like, twice a week going there for their club meetings. He seemed excited about that, but we need somebody to, Mike's really busy and we need somebody to get back in with that Interact Club. I've also had conversations, and I'm this close to sealing it for starting a Rotaract at Life Pacific. The business section wants to do it, and I think if we can push Angie Ritchie a little bit, the Rotaract Club costs $15 a month. I'll put up the $15. I mean, $15 a semester. I mean, that's nothing. So we're that close. So the both Rotaract. Let's tonight, Anthony, speak to Mike about the Interact volunteers. I was not in a conversation, so I'm not familiar, but I'm supportive. Do you have the raffle prizes and stuff ready to go for your car show?
Yeah, they're working on it now. I was out of the loop because our golf tournament, but I'm getting back into the fold with that stuff. So we have a meeting tomorrow to discuss everything, and I'll get the tally of everything that they've been working on.
Okay. And it's really important that on the 13th or shortly thereafter, all the proceeds are given to Mike Wallace, I would imagine, so that he can deposit them, and then we write you a check for 80%, and then we'll do the paperwork, and that's how it goes, correct, Steve? I'm sorry.
I think he left us.
I'm here.
Is he there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
Here I hear you.
So that's just important. That one fact is important about that, Anthony, but let's talk to Mike tonight. He's supposed to be there.
Perfect. And just for everybody else, again, St. Dimas having their car show on the 13th. And if you are familiar with Mr. Koss, he was the principal at Lone Hill. A few years back, he did pass away. His wife is entering his cars in the car show, so they'll be doing a little tribute to them as well. So if you are free that day, come on out.
Excellent, excellent, good deal. What give us it's May 13th. What are the hours? It's at San Dimas High School and it benefits the San Dimas Laverne Foundation.
It actually benefits their PTA.
The San Dimas High School PTA.
Yeah, I'm also on the PTA there as well, so I'm helping them with that. So the car show is 9 to 2. 10 o'clock is when they'll do the tribute, and then at 10:30 is when the judges will judge all the different cars. So Mr. Ween, Dr. Sparks, Mr. Badar, and Derek, school board member, and then actually Sylvia are the judges that will be looking at all the cars as well. So
you realize you got two Rotarians as judges, so 40% of your people are actually That's cool. That's very sneaky of us. All right, excellent.
I tried to dabble into all the different areas for school and city, so make it more, fair. I didn't look at their extracurriculars because, as most of us here have more than one titles.
Excellent. All right, very cool. So May 13th, if you're in town, the car show at the high school, and that'll be a cool thing. And also 20% of that will come to us, so that's very cool. Anybody have anything else?
Two things real quick. Number one, not so serious. The other one serious. This weekend would be the weekend that we were doing the pancake breakfast. So I just always am a bit grateful that we no longer do that anymore, because this would be the Western Arts Festival. Second, more serious, just wanted permission for those of you who know Gordy Norman, longtime Rotarian. His wife Diane passed away last week. With your permission, I'd just like to send a condolences card from the club, if everybody's okay with that.
Fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great idea.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anything else? Okay, normally this is the point where I do the calendar, but as I said, I lost my data, so I don't know what the hell's going on. Go to the website, sandimasrotary.org. Everything's up there, and hopefully I'll be all straightened by the middle of next week. Thank you, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Lou.